City Council elections are right around the corner. I'm Ashley Sturman. Coming up this week on WVU News, I'll tell you why some city officials are making it harder for you to vote.
I'm Dan Sweeney, and coming up on WVU News, I'll show you how this little bottle is sending kids right here in West Virginia to the doctor's office.
Outraged and divided. I'm Tyler Hahn, and coming up, I'll tell you how one community is reacting after a controversial verdict caught attention from the nation. Our award-winning WVU News starts now.
Guilty of rape. The verdict is in, and now community members of the small town of Steubenville speak out. It's a trial that has sparked public discussion about the rape culture of our society. I'm Haley Clover.
And I'm Ashley Sturm. Parents, did you know a few squirts from the popular energy drink Mio could send your children to the hospital? You're watching WVU News, an award-winning newscast produced by television journalism students right here at West Virginia University.
Mainstream media coverage of the Steubenville rape case has been widely criticized.
And Tyler, I understand that many members of the community are outraged that the trial appeared to undermine the victim and the premise of date rape.
Yes, Ashley, I recently hit the streets of Steubenville and spoke with residents there. And one thing is for certain, emotions are running high. A community divided. Those are the reactions of many residents following the guilty verdict of two high school football players charged with raping a 16-year-old West Virginia girl. It's a case that has stirred emotions in the small city of Steubenville. I recently met with residents to get their reactions to the verdict. It's a case that has divided a small community of around 20,000 people. And since the verdict was delivered, residents find themselves on both sides of the issue.
They're not men. They're animals. And you know what? They need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
The rape happened last summer, and since then, state officials have interviewed almost 60 people, including students, school officials, coaches, and even parents. But 16 of them refused to cooperate with police. Because the victim did not remember what happened, hundreds of text messages and cell phone pictures provided much of the evidence.
They shouldn't have showed everybody what the girl looked like, because now she's even more embarrassed. But I think that that's a big thing in the case, is because they put her business on blast for no reason, and that's how they got caught.
Some residents here also believe the defendants were initially given special treatment because they were part of the popular Steubenville High School football team.
I believe that they got their sentence, but I believe there was other ones involved that have not been brought to justice yet.
Though there are negative feelings, one resident believes there is still hope for the small town of Steubenville as the recovery begins.
It'll take a month or two, and I know it don't sound like a long time, but life goes on. That's just the way it is.
After the guilty verdicts, Ohio's Attorney General said he will convene a grand jury to investigate whether other people in the small town should be charged in the case. Two teenage girls have been arrested for making death threats to the victim through Twitter and Facebook. If they are found guilty, they could face up to 6 months in a detention facility. Haley and Ashley, back to you.
Thanks, Tyler. Morgantown implemented a vote-by-mail program after the Mountain State was ranked the second lowest in voter turnout for the 2008 presidential election.
But the City Council thought it was time for a change. I recently spoke to Morgantown's mayor about the decision to end the program. The 2011 City Council election saw a 22% voter turnout, which may not seem very high, but in Morgantown that number is outstanding, and many believe the vote-by-mail program is the reason. But the program was abandoned last November after a 4-3 vote by City Council. Some worry the voter turnout rate will decrease back to its original numbers, but Mayor Jim Manella doesn't believe that's a bad thing.
That low number turnout, you have to realize that those people know what the issues are. They pay attention. They know what's going on. If you change the way that we vote here in the county, it could more or less turn into more of a name recognition type of election.
But some Morgantown residents don't agree.
They want to make it more difficult for their political opponents to participate in city government and to participate in elections, and most importantly, to win elections.
$35,000 may not seem like a very high price for a local election, but that cost more than double the previous election's total. Many say the vote-by-mail program is too expensive, even though the voter turnout rate more than tripled 2 years ago. Still, Mayor Manila says he believes issues are what bring people to the polls, not the convenience. Morgantown City Council elections are being held on April 30th. You can find your local polling location by visiting the website on the bottom of your screen.
According to the National Center for Education Statistics, West Virginia test scores rank below the national average. And state education officials are looking for new ways to improve test scores. Officials have decided to replace the WEST test with a Smarter Balanced Assessment test. The new test will be taken electronically, and each assessment will be tailored to each individual student based on their abilities. The Smarter Balanced Assessment will be administered in schools throughout the state in 2 years.
Parents, before your children head off to take these tests, are they putting the right thing in their body?
Consumer reporter Dan Sweeney joins us now live in the studio to tell us how a new energy drink could be harmful to your kids. Dan?
Thanks, Haley and Ashley. Many kids don't like to drink water, and that's where the new caffeinated liquid water enhancer Mio comes in. Parents use flavors like blueberry lemonade to make water taste good. But while Mio is high in flavor, it's also high in caffeine, and that can send kids straight to the hospital. With a pop of the lid, Mio Energy has as much caffeine as a cup of coffee. But the West Virginia Poison Control Center has identified the energy-infused version of the flavor enhancer as a problem in schools. There have already been 4 cases of students showing symptoms of caffeine poisoning after ingesting the substance on its own or in other caffeinated drinks. Molly Stoltz is a mother of 2 and thinks there's an easy way to prevent this problem.
I wouldn't be giving it to them. I would put it up if it was something that I wanted to take and keep it out of reach.
Mio Energy can be especially dangerous for children and adolescents. A representative from the West Virginia Poison Control Center said in a phone interview, quote, "Their bodies are more easily affected by the stimulant because they're still growing and changing how they process and digest things. Another problem is how easy it is to go over the recommended serving of only half a teaspoon. Mio Energy is a highly concentrated combination of caffeine and other stimulants commonly found in energy drinks." Now, just to give you a little perspective into how concentrated this stuff is, the small bottle contains 12 cups of coffee's worth of caffeine, and that's an entire pot of coffee. The other 2 varieties of the product, Original Mio and Mio Fit, contain no caffeine. At this time, the FDA says they lack sufficient evidence to make any regulations on caffeine levels in any energy drinks, including Mio. Haley and Ashley, back to you.
Thanks, Dan. The Environmental Protection Agency is cracking down on air pollution.
And one thing Morgantown has plenty of is traffic. I found out how the emissions from cars and coal mines are affecting our health and what the city is doing about it.
Morgantown is surrounded by coal-fired power plants, all emitting sulfur dioxide, a chemical that WVU professor Michael McCauley says affects your health.
Sulfur dioxide and particulate are primarily responsible for things like asthma and bronchitis. Those are lung diseases.
But that's not the whole problem. With around 11,000 cars traveling through Morgantown every day, the amount of hazardous particles that residents are exposed to is high. Interim City Manager Jeff McCorsky says there isn't much that can be done about the traffic.
We can't control really who rides on the roads, the truck traffic. We don't have too much control over that because most of our roads are state routes.
Pollution problem is made worse by Morgantown's topography.
And the problem here that you might not see, let's say in New York State at least, is that the topography, the structure of the hillsides and the land around here are such that it can trap the pollution in.
If a solution isn't found, the Environmental Protection Agency will fail Morgantown's air quality. This would mean less government funding for the city.
So what can you do to help? Taking public transportation like the PRT is a good way to lower chemical emissions coming from motor vehicles.
If the city doesn't want to fall into a category of non-attainment, the pollution problem will need to be fixed before next year's EPA test.
To cut down on air pollution, the Morgantown City Council is looking for ways to limit the amount of vehicles on the road.
Officials say one possible solution is to ban WVU freshmen from bringing their cars to campus. And wow, Haley, I wonder how students are going to react to the possibility of not having their cars on campus.
I guess we're just going to have to wait and see, Ashley. And coming up on WVU Sports, Mike Ploger tells us how the WVU Gymnastics team is preparing for an event 12 years in the making.
I'm Mike Ploger, and coming up, I'll tell you what it is about the gymnastics team that could have them falling in the NCAA championships.
Our hearts beat in the face of challenge, for without it, there is nothing. No character, no grit, no goals. Without challenge, there can be nothing. No discovery, no knowledge, no cures. For us, the challenge is everything. Without it, there can be no mountaineers.
Sports anchor Mike Ploger joins us now live in the studio to tell us about a team who has hopes of bringing home some hardware.
Yeah, Mike, I understand the gymnastics team has set several records this year.
That's right, and you know, the things that these gymnasts can do on the beam, bars, floor, and vault is unreal, but it's what they're doing as a team that has grabbed the attention of Mountaineer fans everywhere. The gymnastics team is currently ranked 26th in the nation, and while they continue to compete at a high level, it's what's happening away from the meets that helps this team find success. 11 meets down, 1 to go. That's what separates these women from the school's first NCAA championship appearance since 2000. While the heat is on, don't let their focus fool you. Senior Chelsea Goldstrafe says this team has more than just talent.
Our team is full of personality, and I think that's what makes us unique and what has given us so much success. Everyone is always wanting to do better, always wanting to do more.
A game called Ninja keeps the girls loose, and while trying to take out their own teammates, they try to enjoy their sport as much as possible.
Our main goal is to have fun. Like, we want to do really good gymnastics, but we want to have fun doing that. And I think that that's what makes us different.
Outside of hard work, it's accountability, head coach Jason Butts is stressing. He's had a message for his group since day one. Fight.
That's always my goal, is just keep fighting no matter what happens. And we can't control what the other teams do in gymnastics. It's all about just our performance, so we keep it focused on us. We fight no matter what happens for every 10th, and we don't stop till, you know, the competition's over.
Gymnasts will chalk up during competitions in order to get rid of any sweat that may be lingering on their hands. This helps when they do events such as the uneven bars to get rid of any sweat and give them a stronger grip on the bars. WVU is hosting the regional tournament, which could give the Mountaineers a bit of an edge.
The energy in the Coliseum is absolutely the best energy that you could get.
The team could use all the energy Morgantown has to offer, as a strong performance in their final home meet could lead to a national championship appearance. The girls will face off against the likes of number 5 Michigan, number 8 Nebraska, and others in the regional tournament. Now show up to the Coliseum early to show the team some Mountaineer love. The meet is set to start at 6 p.m.
Thanks, Mike. The gymnastics team looks prepared to take on the balance beam and the uneven bars.
But there's another team here in Morgantown that's ready to strap on some skates and dish out some bone-crushing hits. The Morgantown Roller Vixens are back in action competing in the Roller Derby League. Here, women from all professions have unique nicknames and wear outrageous costumes as they compete while skating around the track, delivering hard hits. The Roller Vixens' next event will take place on April 6th when they compete against the Greenbrier Roller Vixens.
Well, Ashley, I think it's safe to say that that sport is not for everyone.
Maybe not, Haley, but it truly takes a talented group of women to compete in roller derby.
Well, that wraps up this week's edition of WVU News. You can visit us at our website.
You can also watch all of our shows on YouTube. And please follow us and our reporters on Twitter. I'm Ashley Sturm.
And I'm Haley Clover. Thanks for watching WVU News. We'll see you next time.